Hi, and welcome to KET's News Quiz. I'm your host, Kelsey Starks. Let's start with a shout out to the Super Bowl 58 champs. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 on February 11th. This is the second year in a row that the Chiefs have won the championship. Now let's huddle up for today's challenge question. The poison released by snakes is called what? Now, we aren't looking for a chemical name here. There's a general term that's used when talking about this toxic substance. It's the same word used for the poisons produced by scorpions and spiders. By the way, it's also the name of an anti-hero in the Spider-Verse. Can you think of it? The poison released by snakes is called what? We'll have that answer for you after the news. Topping our news this week, former U.S. President Donald Trump is awaiting a decision from the country's Supreme Court, and that decision could affect his 2024 run for president. Several states have threatened to take Mr. Trump's name off their ballots. They say efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election violated his oath of office. Colorado is one of those states. Their state Supreme Court ruled on the case, saying Trump's name should be removed from the ballot. Now, the case has moved to the highest court in the country, the United States Supreme Court. The justices on the U.S. Supreme Court are appointed by presidents with congressional approval. They serve for a lifetime unless they choose to retire. It often takes the U.S. Supreme Court several months to decide on cases they hear. However, this case may get a quicker decision since Colorado's primary election is coming up on March 5th. Southern California is dealing with the aftermath of an historic rain that triggered mudslides and knocked out power to nearly 1 million people. It's because of back-to-back atmospheric rivers supercharged by El Niño. An atmospheric river is a long band of moisture that forms in the sky. El Niño is a climate pattern caused by the warming of the Pacific Ocean's surface. The two systems dumped up to 13 inches of rain in parts of Los Angeles and San Diego. That's half of the average seasonal rainfall in just 5 days. More than 400 mudslides were reported, forcing some people to evacuate. Farther north, it brought heavy snowfall in the mountains of the state, stretching all the way to parts of Nevada. Time now for the first part of today's quiz. Questions 1 and 2 are about the court case against a former president. Question 1. The court now hearing the case is the A. U.S. Supreme Court, B. Colorado Supreme Court, or C. World Court. Question 2, the former president involved in the case is A. Donald Trump, B. Richard Nixon, or C. Barack Obama. Questions 3 and 4 are about the terrible weather issues. Question 3, the state dealing with the effects of historic flooding is A. Oregon, B. New Mexico, or C. California. And question 4. Bands of moisture that form in the sky are called atmospheric A. Waves, B. Rivers, or C. Valleys. Do you think cell phones should be allowed in the classroom? That's another question legislators in Kentucky are trying to decide in this legislative session. A new bill would make using a cell phone while in class against the law, unless a teacher explicitly allows it. The proposal would allow school districts to create their own policies, which could include exceptions for teachers who use phones for instructional purposes. The bill unanimously passed the House Education Committee. It would still need to be passed by the full House and Senate before it could become law. The European Organization for Nuclear Research has unveiled plans for a new particle collider called the Future Circular Collider. The organization, known as CERN, studies the beginnings of life and our universe through science and physics. They use particle colliders to study atoms, the smallest building block of everything on our planet, and atomic particles. When particles collide at high speeds inside a collider, they create new particles that can tell us about the beginning of the universe. The Future Circular Collider would be the second particle collider ever built. In other news, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris kicked off Black History Month with a reception at the White House. Setting aside time to honor the historic contributions of Black Americans was the idea of historian Carter G. Woodson. Black History Week began in 1926. 50 years later, in 1976, February was declared Black History Month, with an emphasis on education about Black accomplishments. Think about those stories as we head into the second part of today's quiz. Question 5 is more serious than silent mode. A bill proposed in Kentucky would forbid students in school from using A, calculators, B, cell phones, or C, computers. Question 6 is about the scientific developments. The new machine that will study atomic particles is called the Future Circular A, collider, B, smasher, or C, driver. And question 7 is historic. Black History Month takes place each year in A, January, B, February, or C, March. Back to the news. This year's Olympic medalists will get a piece of Paris to take home. The new Olympic medals were revealed last week in Paris, France, where the 2024 Summer Olympics will be held. Each medal has a small piece of the Eiffel Tower embedded inside. The hexagonal polished pieces each weigh less than an ounce and came from routine maintenance of the 135-year-old tower. It's the first time in history the medals have included a part of a famous monument like this. The Olympics begin in Paris, July 26th. Happy Lunar New Year! China is celebrating the Year of the Dragon, which began February 10th. In Chinese culture, each year is represented by one of 12 zodiac animals, which cycle each new year. The dragon is the only mythical animal in the Chinese zodiac. Unlike the evil and fierce dragon in Western culture, the Chinese dragon has long stood for power, justice, versatility, and nobleness, and is widely viewed as the symbol of the Chinese nation. And what's cuter than a dragon? Pandas, of course. Check out these cute panda cubs making their debut in China to mark the new year. The cubs were born late last year in 2 giant panda reserves in southern China, and both made their first public appearance for the Chinese New Year. A total of 34 pandas were born in the 2 conservation and research centers last year. And now here's the final part of today's quiz. Question 8 is made of history. This year's Olympic medals will include a piece of the A, Notre Dame Cathedral, B, Louvre Museum, or C, Eiffel Tower. Question 9 is celebrating a new year. In Chinese culture, this year is known as the Year of the A, Monkey, B, Dragon, or C, Panda. And question 10 is simply adorable. The panda cubs were born in A, China, B, Washington, or C, India. Time now to take a little break. First, a shout out to our friends over at Carter Traditional Elementary School in Louisville. I had the chance to read with the fourth graders there for World Read Aloud Day last week. Thanks for the invite. Now on to our opinion answers. Mike is a fifth grader at Washington Irving Elementary in Illinois who'd like a combo. I would choose telekinesis because it's very practical and two superpowers in one. You can fly by moving yourself. In a board game, you can change the dice to the side you want. You could move the TV remote to you. You could also win sports by moving the ball. Okay. Callaway is in Mr. Dunning's fifth grade class at Spencer County Elementary in Kentucky and doesn't want to be seen. If I could choose any superpower, I would choose invisibility. I am terrible at hide and seek and would finally be good at it, perhaps even winning every time. I could also sneak up on my siblings and give them a good spook. Ms. Orr's third grade class at Rise STEM Academy in Lexington, Kentucky had some additional thoughts about Callaway's idea. The superpower we would choose is to be invisible. We would choose this because we want to pull pranks on our friends and family. We also want to sneak out of cleaning our rooms. All right. And Tiger is a fifth grader at Hazelwood Elementary in North Carolina who chooses hydrokinesis. The superpower I would choose is the ability to control water because you could make sure the water is calm when you go to the beach or control the water temperature so you could just jump in the creek anytime you want and it would not be cold. Those are some great answers. Now, if you're trying to submit your opinion through telekinesis, it's not working. You're going to have to tell us what superpower would you choose and why would you choose it by actually typing it out. Send those letters to us via email at newsquiz@ket.org, or you can use the form at ket.org/newsquiz. Just be sure to include your name, grade, school, and teacher's name in your response. Well, if you knew that Venom is a Spider-Verse character, then you knew the correct answer to our challenge question. Venom is the poison that snakes, spiders, scorpions, and some aquatic creatures release. For humans, it is a dangerous substance, but anti-venoms can help people who have been bitten. Did you know that horses are often used to help create those life-saving medicines? Horses withstand snake venom better than humans. Researchers inject a small amount of venom into the horses and then extract blood with antibodies, which are then used to create these anti-venoms. Who knew? Now here are the rest of today's answers. The answer to question 1 is A. The U.S. Supreme Court is considering the case. The answer to question 2 is also A. Former President Donald Trump is the focus of the case. The answer to question 3 is C. California is the state dealing with historic flooding. The answer to question 4 is B. Atmospheric rivers are bands of moisture that form in the sky. The answer to question 5 is B again. Cell phones could be banned in Kentucky classrooms. The answer to question 6 is A. The Future Circular Collider will study atomic particles. The answer to question 7 is B. February is Black History Month. The answer to question 8 is C. The Eiffel Tower will be a part of this year's Olympic medals. The answer to question 9 is B. This is the year of the dragon. And the answer to question 10 is A. China is where those baby pandas call home. And finally today, Flacco, the owl, escaped from New York's Central Park Zoo a year ago. Now, Flacco is still flying free, but he has quite a following. 2 photographers regularly drive the Hoot route to look for Flacco around New York City. They take pictures and post them on social media for Owl fans to see. Time now for us to fly out of here. We'll see you next week for more News Quiz. Bye.